Good day, ma'am. Good day, classmates. I am Christine Uripaypay from Group 5 and I am here to discuss about the topic affective traits and learning targets. The word affective refers to a variety of traits and dispositions that are different from knowledge, reasoning, and skills. Han 1995. Technically, this term means the emotions and feelings that one has toward someone or something. For example, you see a very beautiful sunset and it makes you feel so serene. So, that's how a sunset affects you. It makes you feel serene and calm. Nevertheless, attitudes, values, self concept, citizenship, and other traits are usually considered to be non cognitive, include more than emotions or feelings. Most kinds of student affect involve both emotion and cognitive beliefs. Shown here are the different affective traits and its corresponding descriptions. Attitude, predisposition to respond favorably or unfavorably to specified situations, concepts, objects, institutions, or persons. For example, aggressive, ambitious, attentive. Next is interests. Personal preference for certain kinds of activities. For example, you like playing sports, reading books, or even shopping. Next is values. Values is the importance, worth, or usefulness of modes or conduct and end states of existence. For example, honesty, selflessness, and compassion. Next one is opinions. It is the beliefs about specific occurrences and situations. For example, Anna can say that Italian good tastes best, while Joe says it is not. Next is preferences. Desire to select one object over another. For example, I like being at home than to go outside. Next one is motivation. Desire and willingness to be engaged in behavior, including intensity of involvement. For example, I am going to gym to see my crush. Next is academic self-concept, self-perception of competence in school and learning. It is the perception that a student has about his or her own academic abilities. Next is self-esteem. It is the attitude towards oneself, degree of self-respect, worthiness, or desirability of self-concept. It is your overall opinion of yourself, how you feel about your limitation and abilities. Next is locus of control. Self-perception of whether success and failure is controlled by the student or by external influences. For example, when you want to change jobs, if you leave it up to fate to get a call for an interview, you believe in an external locus of control. But if you trust in your abilities and take an initiative to apply at various places, you have strong internal locus of control. Next one is emotional development. It is a growth, change, and awareness of emotions and ability to regulate emotional expression. It refers to the ability to recognize, express, and manage feelings at different stages of life and to have empathy for the feelings of others. Next one is social relationships. It is the nature of interpersonal interactions and functioning in group settings. It refers to the connections that exist between people who have recurring interactions that are perceived by the participants to have personal meaning. Next, the social relationship is altruism. It is the willingness and propensity to help others. It is doing something to help another person with no expectation of reward, helping someone despite personal costs or risks, and it is sharing resources even in the face of scarcity. Second to the last is moral development. It is the attainment of ethical principles that guide decision making and behavior. Moral decisions are based on either being good by following the rules or being bad by breaking them. For example, a child may think, I don't want to be spanked, so I'm not going to hit my brother. Stage 2 is about self reward. Moral decisions in this stage are based on getting a reward that is personally meaningful. And lastly, classroom development. It is the nature of feeling tones and interpersonal relationship in a class. In the succeeding parts of this chapter, some of these affective traits will be discussed in line with setting of affective targets or outcomes. These traits have been studied and found out to be contributory factors in student learning. 2.1 Attitude Targets. Macmillan 1980 defines attitudes as internal states that influence what students are likely to do. The internal state can in some degree determine positive or negative or favorable or unfavorable reaction toward an object, situation, person or group of object, general environment, or group of persons. It does not refer to behaviors, what a student knows, right or wrong in a moral or ethical sense, or characteristics such as race, age, or socioeconomic status in a learning institution. Attitude is contingent in subjects, teachers, other students, homework, and other objects or persons. Most often, one can identify the positive or negative attitudes that a person intends to foster or at least keep track of because these attitudes are related to current and future behavior. Some of these attitudes are listed below. A positive attitude toward learning, math, science, English, and other subjects, assignments, classroom rules, and teachers. A negative attitude towards cheating, drug use, bullying, cutting classes, and dropping out. In researches conducted by social psychologists, they found out that attitudes consist of three components or contributing factors. Forsyth, 1999. First, an affective component of positive or negative feelings. Second, a cognitive component describing worth or value. Third is the behavioral component indicating a willingness or desire to engage in particular actions. The affective component consists of the emotion or feeling associated with an object or person, good or bad feelings, enjoyment, likes, comfort, anxiety, etc. When the teacher describes students as liking math or enjoying art, the teacher is focusing on the affective component. The cognitive component is an evaluative belief, such as thinking something valuable, useful, worthless, etc. In school, students can think history as useless and science is valuable. The behavioral component is actually responding in a positive way. A strong and stable attitude is manifested when all three components are consistent, which means that if a student likes science, the student thinks it is valuable and reads science related materials at home. It translates that the student has a very strong positive attitude. On the other hand, it is likely that for many students, these components will contradict one another. For example, Wana may not like English very much but thinks that English is important. The question is, what would her attitude to be? In general sense toward English, that would depend on what components of the attitude is being measured. If it is only affective component, then the attitude would be negative. But if it is the cognitive component, it would translate to a positive attitude. This trifocal conceptualization has significant implications for identifying attitude targets. Does the assessment need to focus on feelings, thoughts, or behavior? If the learning target, for example, is students will have a positive attitude towards school, then the assessment needs to include all the three components since the general nature of target would need to be consistent with the assessment. But if the target is student will like coming to school, then it would suffice that the assessment focus only on the affective component. Next topic is value targets. Generally, values refer either to end states of existence or to modes of conduct that are desirable or sought. Rukic, 1973. End states of existence refer to conditions and aspects of oneself and the kind of world that a person wants, such as safe life, world peace, freedom, happiness, social acceptance, and wisdom. And modes of conduct are manifested in what a person believes is appropriate and needed in everyday existence, such as being honest, cheerful, ambitious, loving, responsible, and helpful. Each of these values can be placed into categories consistent with different areas of persons' lives. Hence, the aspects of moral, political, social, aesthetic, economic, technological, and religious values. Macmillan 2007 suggested that in setting value targets, it is necessary to stick to non-controversial and those that are clearly related to academic learning and school and Department of Education goals. Some values that are commendable and non-controversial are described below. Value, honesty. Its sample value target is students should learn to value honesty in their dealing with others. Next is integrity. Students should firmly observe their own code of values. Next is justice. Students should support the view that all citizens should be the recipient of equal justice from government, law enforcement agencies. And lastly, freedom. Students should believe that democratic countries must provide the maximum level of freedom to their citizens. POFAM 2005. Macmillan 2007 and POFAM 2005 suggested other non-controversial values aside from those mentioned above, like kindness, generosity, perseverance, loyalty, respect, courage, compassion, and tolerance. Both of them believe that there should be a limit to the number of affective traits targeted and assessed. It is better to do an excellent job assessing a few important traits than to try to assess many traits casually. Now let's go to my last topic, motivation targets. In education, motivation can be defined as the extent to which students are involved in trying to learn. Macmillan 2007. This includes the student's initiation of learning, the intensity of effort exerted, the student's commitment, and the student's persistence. In other words, motivation is the determined engagement in learning in order to gain mastery of knowledge or skills. Students take learning seriously and give importance to opportunities to learn. Researches on motivation can be organized according to the expectancy times value framework. Brophy 2004, Pintrich and Chang 2002. The model implies that motivation is determined by students' expectations, their beliefs about whether they are likely to be successful, and the relevance of the outcome. Expectations refers to the self-efficacy of the student. Self-efficacy is the student's self-perception of his or her capability to perform successfully. Values are self-perception of the importance of the performance. That is, the student see the relevance of the activity. For example, the students evaluate the activity they engage in if it is enjoyable or satisfying. Will it meet some social and psychological need, such as self-worth, competence, or belonging? Will it help the student meet an important goal? Students who believe that they have the capability to be successful and that the activity they engage in themselves are important for them and relevant, they will be highly motivated to learn, even if they value the outcome, and yet the students believe that they don't have the capability to attain success, their motivation will be weak. Similarly, there are many students capable but are unmotivated because the activity that they are asked to do holds no importance for these students. Like attitudes, motivation is too ambiguous to use the general definition as an outcome because it is difficult to pinpoint the source of lack of effort and involvement. Macmillan 2007 suggests that motivation targets should focus on self-efficacy and value, distinct by academic subject and type of learning, like knowledge, understanding, and reasoning. Here are some examples of motivation targets. Students will believe that they are capable of learning how to write simple computer programs using Java, and that is self-efficacy. Next, student will believe that it is important to know how to write simple computer programs using Java, and that is value. In assessing motivation, it is important to consider why students are learning, the reasons students give for their actions. When students do something or engage themselves in activities because they find the activities interesting, enjoyable, or challenging, they are intrinsically motivated, while extrinsic motivation is doing something because it leads to a reward or punishment. Likewise, it has been shown that students who are motivated by a need to understand and master the task, or shall we call mastery orientation, show more positive behavior and thinking as compared to those who are doing something for the result or outcome, or shall we say performance operation. Students who are for mastery orientation are more engaged, have in general inclination to generate solutions to difficulties, and generate more positive credits in success and failure. Success attributed to ability and moderate effort, failure to lack of effort. Listening, and if you have any questions, just DM me on my Facebook account. Thank you for listening, and now I will give the floor to the next reporter. Thank you.